Alhamdulillah, I'm very honored to be in such a gathering in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where it shines to the people.
Would you mind coming for so we can record?
Okay. Feels like at a doctor's practice. That's fine, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. So alhamdulillah, it's an honor for me to be here in a gathering where the places like this shine to the people in the heaven, in the sky, just like the stars shine to us in this orbit, in this earth that we live in. And the Prophet ﷺ, his companions were like stars in the orbit that shone light to the people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَعَلَامَاتٍ وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. Through the guidance of the stars, like even nowadays the sailors, the ships, right, they navigate through the stars. Until now it's very practical. So the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, whether men and women, they were stars, and the Prophet ﷺ was the moon for those stars. The surah that I read, but before Brother asked to talk a little bit about Knuckle Institute. Been in New Jersey for now 6 years, and been doing many programs, ilmi programs, for all different levels, for youngsters, for adults, for kids, children. I still teach, alhamdulillah, Quran to very young kids, like that kid running around. MashaAllah. It's good also to have kids in the masjid run around. And so finally we came to a conclusion to start a proper institution where we can have the roots get strong, and then the tree automatically grows. And that's why we named it Nakhla. Who knows what Nakhla means? Anyone? Palm tree. We have a lot of palm trees here, mashallah. We don't have that in the East Coast. A lot in the West Coast. So the tree, the palm tree, the date tree, it is very amazing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that in the Quran. شَجَرَةٌ طَيِّبَةٌ أصلها ثابت فرعها في السماء, that the roots are deep, strong in the ground, and the branches grow up in the sky strong. تؤتي أكلها كل حين بإذن ربها. They bear fruit in all season. So the dates, you can find them in all season, and they are very strong, and they are weather resistant. They can stand in any weather normally. And then the Prophet ﷺ also gave an example of a believer, that he asked the Sahaba, who knows which tree resembles the mu'min, the believer? And Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, he was very young at that time, he didn't want to answer, he knew the answer. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, the Nakhla. Later on he told his father, I knew the answer, why didn't you tell us? He said that, well, there are so many elder Sahaba in the presence of the Prophet ﷺ. I was too young and I didn't want to answer. So that's why we chose this name, that it has a deep meaning behind it. So in our institute we focus a lot on Arabic language, because the language, it's a tool to get to any science of our Sharia, of our Islam, of our religion. Whether it's the Quran, whether it's the Hadith, whether it's the other sciences that lead towards these two main sources. And our second goal is tarbiyah, to educate the coming generation or the existing generation all the way down, to teach them good Islamic character. Tarbiyah, that's one of our main goals. And that's why we have different programs. We have intensive programs like Arabic programs for the intensive Arabic studies that we teach over the year. And then we have short programs, short courses in Arabic and other subjects as well. So alhamdulillah, it's been maybe less than a year since we started this institute. It's very in an initial stage, and we ask your support of du'as. We really need du'as from you guys, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, number one, give us sincerity and ikhlas, and number two, accept from us. These two things is sufficient, inshallah. If we have these two things, we're good to go. Okay, so back to our subject for tonight, is that the Prophet ﷺ and the Sahaba. In this surah, Wad-Duha, it's a very short surah, and a lot of our youngsters maybe even know the surah. It actually talks about the life of the Prophet ﷺ, starting from the beginning of times. And if we think that we are in tough times, where we have different challenges, well, the Prophet ﷺ and the companions, the Sahaba, they were in a very, very difficult situation, where we have people, their own people going against them. The Prophet ﷺ, from the first day that he gets the revelation, his own people that he knows them, he's grown up with them, he's been with them for 40 years, and they know him that he's a truthworthy person. He never told a lie, and he never did any blunder. He was a noble man from a noble family, from a noble lineage. He was a chosen person. His forefathers were like the leaders of Quraysh. And then when the Prophet ﷺ shows that he is the Prophet, and he tells them that he has revelation from God, everything changes. To the extent that the Prophet ﷺ, being a noble person, being respected, now he is being tortured by his own people. And when I say own people, the Prophet ﷺ, he acknowledged my people. And it's an amazing thing that to know that where you live, or the place where you grow, you live for most of your life, or for your entire life, that's your people. You lived, you grew up here, this is your people, this is your country. The Prophet ﷺ left Mecca to Medina, and yet in in Uhud, he is holding on to his blood, that he's bleeding from his tooth, and he's injured, and he's facing his enemy, those same people that tortured him for now 14, 15 years, and he's making dua for them. Umar is saying that I'm listening to the Prophet ﷺ, that he's going to make dua against them. And he's saying, Allahumma ghfirli qawmi. These are my people, this is my qawm. Allahumma ghfirli qawmi fa innahum la ya'lam. They don't know who I am. They didn't recognize me exactly. They know I am Muhammad ibn Abdullah, Muhammad the son of Abdullah, from Quraysh, from Mecca. But they don't know I am the messenger of Allah. I'm the beloved of Allah. I'm the most honorable person. They don't know who I am. If they knew, they wouldn't have been doing what they're doing now. How difficult was it? And therefore, the starting of the surah Wad-Duha, it was a period that the Prophet ﷺ didn't receive any revelation. And if you are claiming something, then you have to keep on proving it. You have to keep on putting updates, right? When you have an event, you have to keep on updating people, right? For the elections, mashallah, today I've heard like the 3-4 announcements. You have to keep the momentum. So the revelation stops for some time, and the Quraysh, especially Jamil, the wife of Abu Lahab, both wife and husband, they were the most biggest enemy of the Prophet ﷺ. They tortured him and did the best that they could. And Jamil came in and said, see, you claim to be the Prophet. Where's the revelation? Where's the wahi? What's happening? Did your Lord leave you? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed this ayah, Wad-Duha. He's taking an oath. Duha in Arabic means dahwa, the early morning time. And layl, it means night. Idha saja, when it covers, the darkness covers. But a lot of the mufassirin say that this indicates to the physical parts of the Prophet ﷺ, which is his face, Wad-Duha. By your glowing face. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى, in the night, the darkness of the hair of the Prophet ﷺ. He had hair that was curly and was long, sometimes all the way down to the shoulder, and he was so handsome, right? لَا يُمْكِنُ الثَّنَاءُ كَمَا كَانَ حَقُّهُ, right? You cannot even praise him the way he was. That it's mentioned in many authentic ahadith that the Prophet ﷺ sweat will also smell like fragrance. And when he placed his hand on a child, a lot of times we kind of, why is this child running around? Why is he making noise? Can someone quiet this child? Whose child is this? The Prophet ﷺ will let Hassan and Hussein play on his shoulder while he is praying in sujood, and he will make his sujood long. So he used to place his hand on the children's head, and this is the sunnah. And sometimes he will kiss their forehead. So this is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, that he was a person that will take care of orphans because he went through an orphan time period. He was an orphan, as we heard today, or maybe I heard it somewhere else, that the Prophet ﷺ, he went through a period of time that he was an orphan, right? As we know, his mother passed away later on, but his father passed away before he was even born. So he used to place his hand, and the head of that child will have that fragrance for at least one day, and that child will be known from the rest of the children. So he was a miraculous person, that everything was unique about him. So his hair was black and dark. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking an oath with his face and his hair. وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. That Allah, your Lord, has not left you alone. He is with you. He is taking care of your affairs. He will not put you in a desperate situation. Qala, right? In a desperate situation. He's not going to send you astray. When the Prophet ﷺ, as we know, that mashallah, a family structure is not just, husband and wife, or husband and wife and, daughters and sons. It's a whole community that combines within a family. So the Prophet ﷺ, a perfect example with him and Khadija, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, the one who was so loyal to her, and she was so loyal to him, and they had so strong love that when the Prophet ﷺ received his message, he didn't know what was going on exactly. Right? Suddenly someone comes, like if you're in a cave and someone comes and grabs you and hugs you and squeezes you, that you feel like you're about to die. How are you going to be feeling like? And the Prophet ﷺ, when he comes, where does he go? He goes to someone that he relies on. He has that strong connection. He has that bond, strong love. And that's why this is one of the things that I mentioned in the khutbah, I believe in the second khutbah, that everything revolves around love. Anything. Especially in particular our religion. It all revolves around love. If you have love of religion, if you have love of Allah, if you have love of the Prophet ﷺ and his family and the way that he established, everything is so easy. Everything is very easy. Love can take you anywhere. There's that. A lot of us, we know about that man walking on steel wire. Where? Between the Twin Towers, right? When was that? Somewhere in the 70s or the 60s. Early 80s. Walked on wire. He loved that. That's what he wanted to do. Love can make you do anything. So he had that love between him and Khadija radiallahu anha, that he told her, and she embraced the Prophet ﷺ. She gave him comfort. And he told her that you are a person. Allah will never let you alone. If that was a revelation, then Allah is going to take care of you. Because you are the person who take care of orphans. You are the person who take care of misfortunate people. Those who are afflicted with difficulties. You take care of the guest and the widows and so on and so forth. This is what the Prophet ﷺ was doing even before he became the Prophet. So, مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. He will not leave you alone. You take care of people. And it's very fairly said that the person who helps out others, mashallah, I heard a story a real story in this community that a brother, mashallah, he likes to help out people, especially someone new coming in the area. He likes to take care of them, feed them, show them what they need, etc. This is what Islam teaches us. This is what Islam teaches us. The Prophet ﷺ used to take care of people. He used to take care of people. So the Prophet ﷺ used to take care of people, and it's very fairly and easily said that those who make others happy, he becomes even more happier. So the happy you are, it shows that how much you help others. So helping others makes you even more happy. So it's very easily said that the Prophet ﷺ was the most happiest person. Most happiest person. And the proof is coming. مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. And then وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. Even if you're going into difficulties in this world, just hang on in. That's the trick. You just hang on in, bear the difficulties, hope for the best, and just keep on going, because you have another life that is going to be much, much, much better than you can't even imagine. How great that next life is going to be for all of us. For all of us, for all of our sisters, all of our brothers, our youngsters. وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. You'll have a better life. Allah will give him right the maqam al-mahmud, shafa'a, liwa al-hamd, leading all the prophets, starting the hisab. All these great things that he will have, the privilege on the day of Qiyamah, because he's Sayyid al-Mursaleen, right? وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. And then what? وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. That Allah will give you whatever you want, and He will give you until you are pleased. Until you are pleased. And therefore the Prophet ﷺ, as we know, it's a mujma' alayh, consensus, that as we know that the Quran is going to be a shafi', intercession on the day of Qiyamah, the Salat will intercede, the Hajj will intercede, the Hujjaj will intercede, mashallah, Hujjaj, people in for Hajj, the ulama will intercede, the person who memorizes Quran is going to intercede, make shafa'ah, and the Prophet ﷺ will make shafa'ah. For those people who is wajib for them to go to Jahannam. It's not that they could go to Jannah. It's already decided that they are going to Jahannam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take them out. Send them to Jannah. They don't have to go to Jahannam. And then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say that I'm the most generous of all generouses. And He will take out as many people, even more, and send them to Jannah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves us more. We just have to love Him and start that relation, because you cannot love from one side. It doesn't work, right? If one side, there's love on one side, the other side, it will disappear. So love has to be from both sides. So Allah loves us. We are His servant. We are His creation. And why would Allah want us to be punished? To throw us in Jahannam? He's most merciful. Arhamur Rahimin. He is the most merciful, all merciful. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. Allah will make you happy. Allah will make you happy. Don't worry. Right? Why are you straining yourself out? You're burning yourself out on these people who don't believe. Allah will take care of them. وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. And then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى أَلَمْ يَجِدْكَ يَتِيمًا فَآوَى. That didn't Allah find you an orphan and then gave you security, gave you a shelter, gave you a ceiling, a roof to live under. And some of the Mufassirin say that it is actually telling the Prophet ﷺ, أَلَمْ يَجِدْكَ, that Allah had found you supporting the yatiman, and then you gave shelter to them. So Allah will also compensate for that, even give you better shelter. وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًا فَهَدَى. And found you not knowing the way, and then guide you to the right way. In another narration, some of the Mufassirin say, وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًا. That we found you with those people who went astray, ضَالًا فَهَدَى بِكَ. Allah gave guidance to that dhal, that astray person through you. Because the Prophet ﷺ was hadi. He gave guidance by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He spread the guidance. He was hadi, right? Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he was passing right to Medina, and a person came in and said that, you know, I know you, but who is this person? And the Prophet ﷺ was escaping from Mecca to Medina, and he said that, Hadini yahdini. He's a guide, he's guiding me the way. So it has two meanings. One is that he's a guide. I don't know the way, so he's guiding me to Medina. In another meaning, he is a guide, that he has given me guidance towards the right path. هادني يهديني ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى. And also he made you with a family. He gave you a perfect family. That the kuffar said, إِنَّ شَانِئَكَ هُوَ الْأَبْتَرُ. His lineage is not going to live, one after the other, passing away, dying. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted Fatima radiallahu anha and Ali radiallahu anhu. Ali, who was a cousin to the Prophet ﷺ, but he was like a son to him more than a son-in-law. You know, we see without Allah. So he was the son-in-law of the Prophet ﷺ, but he was more like a son to him because he was raised in the Prophet's home. He was raised right there in the prophetic guidance. And the lineage lived on, and until today we know that the lineage still is alive. And this is the miracle, that after 1400 years we have people, their lineage goes all the way back to Fatima and Hassan and Hussein radiallahu anhuma. And then after that, in the end, when Allah gives you all these ni'mats, in the end you have to be thankful. In this country, there was a time that, as my father used to say, that we used to travel miles and miles just to go and find another Muslim. And here, after 30, 40 years, alhamdulillah, we can go to masjids, mashallah. What is the nearest masjid? 20 miles? 10 minutes from here, mashallah. The place where I am in New Jersey, in Trenton, we have a masjid 1 mile away, another masjid half a mile away, a third masjid 4 miles away, another masjid 5 miles away, in just that small little area. Islam is going to spread. It will reach to all the different places. And for this we have to be very thankful. And just like the Islam, it had its beginning peak time, Islam is going to rise. And as one historian who visited America, and he was a great scholar of history, Abul Hasan al-Nadawi, he was leaving, someone said that, can you summarize your whole journey? He said that Islam it rise right from the Arab Peninsula all the way down to many generations and many centuries, but now it's a time for the sun of Islam to rise from the west. So that was his analysis, and Islam is going to spread anywhere. This is the deen of Allah, and as we heard in Salah today, Inna Deena Indallahi al-Islam, the Islam that the Prophet ﷺ brought. So we have to build this love for the Prophet ﷺ. And how do we have this? After 1400 years, we can read the Quran in a perfect Arabic accent. We know the meanings of the Quran through righteous scholars all the way back to the Prophet ﷺ. If it wasn't for that first generation, those perfect people who were illiterate, who had no education background, they didn't have any proper system. They were from the backward people, lived in a desert. Mecca was a desert. And they became the most precious, the most important, the highest ranked people who ever lived, the best of generations, Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. So his guidance and his suhbah, his prophetic presence with his companions changed that dirt into musk, changed that rock into gold, changed those small pebbles into jewels and pearls. It was by one person, but it was the companions who took on that message that prophetic guidance and brought it to us. So without knowing them, without knowing the companions, that how would you know what was the situation? Because if you look at the Prophet ﷺ's life, he mostly spent his time with his people. Most of his time he spent with his people, with the people that he lived with. He always interacted with them. He spoke to people. He went to people, walked to people. He rode with people. He went with expeditions with people. So the companions built a very strong history of Islam. And without knowing their history or their biography, it's very hard to know the exact situation of that time. Starting from right Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, these great people who accepted Islam in the beginning and went through that hardship in those early 13 years of Islam, the hard time, the Meccan period, and then the Medinan period where Islam started to spread. And those people, if we think that it's a new environment, that Islam wasn't here, and so wasn't at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. It was something new, and it was something very difficult. I mean, we cannot even imagine what the Sahaba went through, coming from a same diversity, background that people had, a new environment that they accept, and they changed and they transformed, and they became the best creation. So for that purpose, inshallah, we would like to look at different parts and aspects of the Sahaba. Inshallah, I'm planning to do some of it, inshallah, for the tomorrow session, inshallah, which will start, I believe, somewhere around after 10 o'clock. It will be, inshallah, geared towards, as it's a little funny, the second generation. I don't know what you mean by second generation. But anyway, it's for the youngsters, but I think anyone is welcome. Is that correct? Oh, it's only youngsters. Okay. Okay. For our brothers and sisters, our youngsters, inshallah, we'll love to be with you guys, inshallah, spend some time with all of you. I'm looking forward for that. And I'm very thankful for you guys to have me. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever we said and we heard, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it a means of guidance, a means of opening our hearts and minds, and a means of loving the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and loving the companions, and loving the way, the prophetic way that He has taught us and guide us towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most beloved one. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam tasliman kathira. Are we done? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.